Oh, hello. Today I will be the MC for today's Meet the Professor.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. 10, 9. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, whether you're joining us live on Zoom or watching on YouTube. Welcome to SGU's Meet the Professor. Today's theme is behavioral operations. My name is Camilla from the Bachelor of Global Strategic Communications and Brand Ambassador of SGU. Today I will be your MC. I hope that you are having a great and wonderful day. Meet the Professor is an interactive session where there will be chance to gain valuable insight and knowledge from reputable professors with extensive background and experiences for sure. Today's theme, behavioral operations, was brought to light through the recent advances and rapid growth of business operations. And we are very delighted to delve into this deeper. This webinar is organized in collaboration with Swiss German University Indonesia and SolBridge International School of Business South Korea. And it's live on the Swiss Germany University YouTube channel. Seems like maybe there are more views on YouTube right now. First and foremost, we are very delighted to invite Dr. Subo Musa, the head of the MBA study program of SGU, to give opening remarks and provide an overview of the MBA International Double Degree Program in a collaboration between SGU and SolBridge International School of Business South Korea. You may have the floor. Hello,
Yeah.
Paco, sorry.
Camelia, yeah, could you, I already give to Arta the bit, my presentation shot. If you could help me because at the moment I cannot share
Oh, all
the
right then. Yes,
presentation.
we will be right.
Yes.
Oh, there.
Okay.
Uh,
So, Pak Faisal, yeah.
yes.
Okay. Pak Faisal, could you go to the first page? Okay. I apologize for, okay, to turn off my camera because it's a bit unstable at the moment. So, Pak Faisal, could you help me to share the short presentations? Hmm. Uh, Pak Faisal? Okay, I think Pak Faisal, any problems? Okay, so um, good afternoon, everybody, and I think Professor Kumar is almost evening there. So thank you for joining us. So this is basically I would like to give an overview on the MBA program, especially on the double degree with SolBridge. Okay, next. Okay, the philosophy that in our program is the tagline is be leaders who matters and inspire. So next, Faisal, is our program we design as an innovatively dynamics, and then next we also emphasize on the critical thinking driven of the program and intuitively agile. So to meet this the current requirements in the business environment, the business world, and strategically fit. And next is the collaborative human centric. And this collaboration, we have also done a show today with the collaboration with the our colleague at the SolBridge, Professor Kumar. And then we would like to make our program as a knowledge hub on this, especially the double degree one. Okay. So the approach is we approach our curriculum to provide the practical and updated knowledge. We also the courses are very applicable and implementable on the business practices. And obviously, at the end of the day, we would like our student to sustain the achievement result, go through the our program. Next. Now, and why the SU double degree program? One is the international standard and benchmark. As you know, that our partner, SolBridge, is an AACSB accredited internationally for the business schools. And then the agile and dynamic in terms of the course material, where on the yearly basis we review and we update it to fit into the current the environment changes and then the business practices. This is based on the course material. We use a lot of the case studies, so the student will also be exposed to the real business practices as well as the real cases. And the faculty, both SolBridge and the SGU, most of us are practitioner in their own fields, okay, and also have a diverse international experience. So I think this will help the discussion in the class and helps the students to get an exposure to the practitioner as well as from the academic perspective. And then, of course, is the international collaborations that we have. And again, this is one of the evidence that we have a collaboration with the SolBridge International Business School. And last but not least, the curriculum also providing a coaching and mentoring and the experiential learning for the students that join the program. Next. Now, in terms of the curriculum, basically from the single degree or the double degree, it consists of 3 semesters. Okay, so the first semester, if you are a single degree program, then you can see here there are certain mandatory and core courses that the student needs to take. For example, like accounting for decision making, that is part of the core courses, as well as on the leadership and the organizational behaviors. And then on the second semester, basically, the student will take elective for the single degree. And then on the third semester, then there will be a thesis for the Indonesian side, because that's the regulations that we still need to, the student needs to take the thesis. Now, the blue one, that is an elective. Now, elective is depending on the students they would like to go. We have 4 areas of elective: strategy, financial, marketing, and the operation management, where the student can choose the elective. Okay. Then next slide, please. Now, these are the 4 elective that we are offering. And then when we look at this SGU on the SGU side, is the program is a 9 session per course. Okay. And so basically in one semester, we consist of 2 sessions. Each session is consists of 9 weeks of the classes. And in terms of the delivery, is a mix between case study, class discussion, and the final projects. And most of the courses are in the final using a project base. Okay, next. Now let's just focus on the MN and MBA on the SGU and the SolBridge on that. So you starting at the SGU, and then you will on the second semester the student will be facilitated by SolBridge, fully online. And as far as the SGU is concerned, we also provide the hybrid. If you live in the surrounding area, Jabodetabek area in Jakarta, then they will be on site. But if you're coming from either overseas or out of town, then you can do on the hybrid. But the SolBridge side is a fully digital, okay, for one semester, which is on the second semesters. Next, please. Now, this is basically a indication on how we allocate the courses. So for the double degree students, the first semester, you'll be taking one course that will be facilitated by SolBridge faculty, which is in the business and economics course. So the green one is basically will be fully facilitated by SGU faculty, whereas the solid blue, dark blue courses will be fully facilitated by professors from SolBridge online basis. Now, on the third semester, the student will be taking two courses. One is thesis, that is a requirement from the regulation perspective, and the management decision simulation. This is basically is a simulation course where the student are given a company for them to manage in a team, and the boot camp. Now, boot camp is we plan to have it a collaboration between our colleague in SolBridge as well as our faculty in the SU. So total, there will be about 37 credits where you will take 19 credits from the SU faculty and then the 18 credits coming from the SolBridge. Now, the way that we structure this thing is from the second semester, you are fully at the hand of the SolBridge faculty. And then on every Saturday, that's where we schedule our courses. In the second semester, you also attend the class face to face, I mean, through online with the faculty from SolBridge for coaching and mentoring session. So, for one semester. So practically those are the courses that you can see that you will be going through for the student that doing the double degree. And I think that's next is so the benefit and the reward is basically is a leadership development when you join this double degree between the SolBridge and the SU, and then life-changing experience because later on toward the end of the semester where you are facilitated by the SolBridge, you will go to Korea for about 2 weeks for excursion and to do the presentation of the final project that are uh, facilitated or given by the SolBridge faculties. So, and then after that, you also can have a business visit in Korea with the SolBridge faculty. So that is a life-changing experience, and also is in the program, we also have a holistic personal development through the critical thinking and diversity. And also is you also will experience a living and knowledge management through the programs, this especially the double degree program. So I think that's all that I would like to share. And probably later after this, if there's a questions, please feel free to ask us, or our colleague at the SU also stand by for any questions. Okay, thank you, Camille, for this. And once again, thank you for the time.
Thank you for
I think you still mute, Camille.
Thank you, Dr. Subo. Yeah, for the opening remarks and overview of the MBA International Double Degree Program in collaboration between SGU and the National School of Business, South Korea. I'm sure we all present today, including all the viewers live on YouTube, share the same enthusiasm for today's webinar. Esteemed audiences, we are happy to inform that by joining by today's webinar, you are gain a lot of benefits. First, you can obtain one free business or professional coaching session with an expert from SGU or SolBridge. Today, we also would like to open an opportunity for free registration for the MBA International Double Degree Program, where there is a scholarship for up to 50%. Should you have more inquiries, you may contact SGU marketing staff for further details after the webinar. Upon beginning our webinar today, I would like to introduce our speaker and his impressive background. Professor Kumar is a member of the Informs and Association for Supply Chain Management. He earned his PhD from IE Business School, and his research interests lie in various academics such as Society of Operations Management and more. Without further ado, we welcome Professor Kumar to begin this webinar session. Professor Kumar, the stage is yours.
Thank you so much. I'm just going to try to share my screen. Okay, yeah, here you go. I guess it works. Okay. Makes sense. Okay, so I hope I'm audible, and please feel free to let me know if something is not clear to you. So, I'll try to make the best adjustments from my side. Well, welcome to all the participants on behalf of SolBridge International School of Business. We are a school based out of Daejeon. We are probably one of the youngest, ACSB schools, and we are probably one of the very few schools in Korea to be reaccredited by ACSB the third time, right? So, and good to see you. My name is Shijit Kumar, and I'm here teaching at SolBridge. I'm here for the last 5 years or so, okay. And I teach primarily, my area is operations management, broadly speaking, and my research is also into that bucket. But of course, my focus is more specifically on behavioral operations and decision making area, and I also happen to have about 6 to 7 years of industry experience in manufacturing and in consulting. So I tend to appreciate aspects of how much operations or management, even from a broader sense, is more of an application-oriented, science, right? So, so the aspects of relevance in the real world, is important, and I guess we at SolBridge to give that a lot of weightage, not to just be theoretical, because having applications and things. So that's exactly where I would be glad to discuss with you folks briefly about this area of behavioral operations management. Typically, operations management traditionally has focused on building theories and models based on the assumption that managers are very rational, and all the decisions are based on the primary neoclassic economic assumption of human beings being very rational and making rational decisions, right? So so these models traditionally in operations management have always focused on designing, operating or managing or executing and improving systems or processes that organizations have, right? So real world firms have different kinds of processes and systems, and operations management deals with designing, managing and improving these systems. However, what we see in the real world is that often what we see is decisions taken by managers, and things done by employees and managers are often not following, the expected rational behaviors. There are a lot of deviations. Okay, and now you all understand that the behaviors and actions and decisions made and the actions taken, these have impact or these impact the performance of an organization. Okay, and now if you deviate from a particular expected behavior and you do something else which was not following the rational expectations, what happens is the performance also gets impacted, right? So that's what this talk briefly aims to, kind of drive your attention, to this aspect of operations management, which is, of course, a very prominent and promising field within operations management research today. Okay, so I'm just going to give you some very brief, things. So probably what I will touch upon is some common reasons for these kind of deviations. Why do managers, while making decisions or taking actions, not specifically follow the expected rational behavior? Why do they deviate, or why do they behave differently? So what could be some common reasons in terms of biases that managers are subject to while making the decisions, or maybe some rules or decision rules or heuristics that they employ to, because of certain reasons that they employ in decision making, right? So we will look at basically what I will do is I will introduce you to some of these commonly observed, definitely non-exhaustive list of biases and heuristics that are observed in the real world, and probably some of the reasons for that, and we will see how these kind of play out in different operations management contexts. Okay, so that's something that we would see going forward. Okay, so let me move to the next slide. Yes. Oh, here you go. So we have been kind of reading, listening, watching videos of all kind of things that happen in the real business world. Okay. So, for example, we have been hearing about Boeing 737 Max production issues, right? Where a lot of things going around. Hey, what is happening? Are there managers following certain standards that they're following, or they're not complying? Big issues. Okay, you can hear around companies in the pharmaceutical sector, and was that a message for me? Okay, sorry. Okay, so the pharma sector companies, maybe think about energy utility companies. So these are companies which mandate certain kind of routines for its employees and managers and technicians and things. But often, technicians, employees, managers, they kind of don't follow these mandates, these procedures, these routines that they are expected to. Okay, what are the reasons for that? I mean, and of course, these are important because these can impact, things quite differently. Yeah, so you will see multiple such kind of examples, so I can just list numerous of them, but just to kind of trying to quote some examples from different industries so that maybe diverse set of people could relate to. One thing that quickly comes to my mind is the big inventory write-off of more than $1 billion.
Ya, tapi aku nggak bisa, aku nggak ada aku udah headset. Terus habis itu dia ketarik,
Okay, more than $1 billion inventory write-off done by Cisco way back in the early 2000s, and which kind of impacted Cisco significantly, where it was trading at about $80 and it fell down to about $10 or so in the stock market, So Cisco ended up with building inventory stocks so much, it went on. It was so overconfident about its business outlook and then it just took a big shot, right? So I mean, the bubble burst, and the dot-com bubble and stuff, and then it had issues. It did not. It was so overconfident in what it was doing, and ended up its managers, ended up making significantly, wrong decisions, right? So. Also, often it's not easy. It's not easy to read the business environment, because you often hear being agile and being responsive and sense and respond and all that kind of things. But this is not an easy task. Okay, it is not an easy task, and often managers err. They make mistakes. And they probably read a signal. They sometimes read too much into a signal. Okay, and make wrong decisions. Say, for example, when this is years ago, when Xerox, felt that certain Japanese manufacturing companies were, moving into X-ray based manufacturing technology, they felt, oh, this is going to be the future, and they started investing it, only to realize that after many years, still that technology was really not something that they were going to use in that industry. So it's something like, you read one or two extreme signals. They might just be noise, but you mistake that to be some future trend. Okay, the vice versa is also possible. I don't want to kind of become too repetitive, but the vice versa could be, just think about BlackBerry. What happened with them, right? So this is not really easy. I mean, sometimes you may end up being slow to respond. Sometimes you may be just overreacting. Okay, so all these are classic examples in the real world, which shows that how the decisions taken by operations managers can impact the performance of the firm or the operating systems, right? So let's probably what we'll do now is we'll just go and quickly try to ask this question, right? I mean, are people really rational? And there is enough evidence now. There are a couple of Nobel Prizes in this field to show that no, people are not, rational, and often they are irrational and predictably irrational, right? So, why? What are the kind of commonly found irrational tendencies or behaviors, in the real world? Okay, so of course, I'm not. This is not an exhaustive list. I mean, please feel free to read the works of Daniel Kahneman, Richard Thaler, and Dan Ariely. Kind of, they have written amazing books and things. So, but this is just from an operations management context. Some of the things that I thought might be applicable. People often have a tendency to weigh too much on short-term benefits compared to the long-term advantage. So in the sense, they're too myopic at times. Okay, they just weigh in the short-term benefits too much in their decision-making process, which is absolutely not rational, actually, right? Because when you're making a rational decision, you're going to take a holistic decision, but that doesn't happen. People end up doing this. Similarly, you see personal experience. Often when people make decision, the criteria for the decision is what was my experience. Okay, and the danger in this is that this criteria may not be applicable to someone else. Okay, you're trying to just confirm whatever is there to your own, whatever you see, your own systems and beliefs and things, right? So that's another major issue or major bias that you typically see, at work. Okay, heuristics. Often what happens is people have, and this is often for some specific reason. In the sense they take shortcuts. Okay, they simplify, often oversimplify the situation. Okay, and they have way arounds, and they think, okay, this is the way I do it. Okay. Why is there a detailed explanation for it? Often not. There's seldom an explanation. It's that, oh, it works here. It works this way, so that kind of an approach is the employing when managers employ heuristics in their decision making. They're just rules or methods that simply stand in the mind of they're not grounded in detailed analysis or critical thinking. Okay. And there are tendencies when we do this, we just simply fall into this, and we often get into this. It doesn't mean that these are always bad, they are always useless. No, they do have value, but many times heuristics can have detrimental effects as well. Okay. The other one is, of course, this is quite a famous, and I'm sure most of you understand what this is. People prefer certainty, right? People weigh or consider the guaranteed, certain, sure profits. They prefer the sure, guaranteed, certain profits over an uncertain event, even if the uncertain event is more rewarding. Okay, in terms of expected value or expectations, but still there is kind of a preference for sure returns, right? So loss aversion and the kind of way, the way that people look at profits and risk, or benefits and risk, they're not symmetrical. There is an asymmetry, in this. This also can make make managers end up making wrong decisions or deviating. Another very important thing that is applicable to in the operations management context is the illusion of local optimums. We often think that we divide a work or divide a system into pieces, and if each of the system does its best, then the system overall is doing well. And this is a big mistake that gets into the decision making. Of course, there are different sources to this, but I'll just keep it short here now. But this is the issue, right? So you only tend to see a small part, and you think of just as well, overall things will do well, but it doesn't really happen. In businesses, every part in the business, in a firm, they are interconnected, right? They're interconnected. There are interdependencies, and how interdependencies work, is a different ball game altogether, right? So these are some common biases or heuristics that I felt might warrant an important mention. Okay. Now, while people make decisions, how does this get reflected? Okay, I mean, how does this get come into play? Okay, so you could see a decision-making process. I've just categorized them into 3 blocks. Okay, so basically collecting information or data, then the analysis and the decision-making, and then implementing the decision that you have taken, right? So you could see this in these 3, and we should try to look at some common biases and systematic errors that often we make. So for example, in the data collection stages, right, when managers are collecting information, collecting data, that will enable them to make decisions. So often what happens is people are not comfortable looking at uncomfortable information, something which makes them uncomfortable. Probably you don't want to look at it, you ignore it. You don't tend to take the pains to look at it, even if that could be really value adding to you. Okay, this happens often. You just want to see things that fits into your view of things. Okay, that fits into your values, your beliefs, what you want it to be. Okay, confirmation bias. You're just collecting things which you want to confirm. Okay, you don't want to be even open to other things. You're not even going to pick up things which will give you a different and valuable source of inputs. Okay, one's own experience drives the data collection. You tend to shut off your eyes. Sometimes you get so focused on the detailed, specific context that you forget about the general context. You forget collecting information about the general, more abstract level data. And sometimes you just collect data or study a set of a sample that is definitely not representative. Okay, and I'm sure when I say these, when I'm kind of spelling out these examples, I would urge you to kind of relate it to some of your work, because I know most of you are working professionals, okay? And that's where you could easily, I'm sure, find at least one or two instances with quite a few of these things that I'm citing, okay? So these are common flaws, systematic errors that people make in this stage of the decision-making process. So when you move on to the further analysis and the real decision-making activity, where you're processing all these information to determine what the plan of action should be, here, of course, you have even more, kind of chances of pitfalls. So often you just want to stick to a position, and you don't want to update yourself with new information. Okay, it's conservative kind of an approach, right? I'm sure you could think about different examples out here. There's the sunk cost fallacy, because you have invested a lot into a particular thing and you're not ready to come out of it. For example, when Toyota had this recall crisis, right? The pedal crisis, the brake crisis. It took a long time for Toyota to go back and rectify things, because it was not ready. It was kind of thinking, we have invested too much into the system, to this particular set of scheme of things. And they were finding it difficult. They were not convinced that they have to change it. We have to get something out of what we have already done, but it's gone. It's gone. Nothing is going to happen out of that, right? So that kind of a behavioral bias is very commonly observed. Sunk cost fallacy. Planning fallacies, typically underestimation, overestimation, underconfidence, overconfidence. You often, companies which are established, managers who have experience, they kind of think that everything should be fine. So, for example, think about the KFC UK crisis, which led to them closing something like hundreds of their stores had to be shut down temporarily because they changed their logistics system. Of course, in reality, they went and blamed DHL for it, but that's quite unfair, because the KFC managers felt everything would be very smooth. They kind of oversimplified a complex distribution network, and they fell short of chicken to make their fried chickens. Okay, so you kind of oversimplify a complicated situation. You're not prepared enough, and you have too much confidence in your plans, in your existing systems, right? Misreadings, information, and misreading signals, the inability to differentiate between signals and noises. There's also often impacts the quality of your analysis and your decision making. Okay. Finally, once you make your decisions and decide on what the plan of action is, you end up executing these tasks, right? So when you get into the execution, there are another set of problems that you will see: biases, systematic mistakes that that human managers make. So often it is assumed that if I have done something over and over, for n number of years, time period, I am a master, which is not necessarily true. Repetition is not mastery. So think about Dell in 2011. It was so much, confident in in its lean supply chain practices that it had. But then the floods in Thailand, kind of showed the weakness, exposed the weakness. That hey, I mean, you probably just know to repeat what you've been doing, but the moment you need to do some things differently because the environment mandates to, you are unable to do it. So you're not a master of your supply chain; you're just an execution. You're just good at repeating things. In your the way you execute your operations, right? Often there is and this is, I'm sure that you have seen this in your workplaces as well. Many people say, while they discuss, hey, we have problems, and when people say, hey, you know what, this is a problem, and then when you ask them really deeper questions, hey, why is this? Why do you think this is a problem? Many times the answer, of course, they might not say it, but the answer is actually on the lines of, that's the problem because I think I have a solution. So it's something like, you have a hammer and everything around you seems to be a nail. So you go keep banging them, right? So that's a case, and you will see that in many contexts where people say, hey, oh, you have the problem, the solution is simple: implement an IT system, implement the standard, implement the certification. Why? Yeah, our competitor is doing it, and we are kind of mechanically implementing solutions. We don't even know if that is the solution. That is the solution because we don't even know the problem, right? So often mimicking others and repeating the same stuff, being too overconfident, procrastinating things. I will talk a little bit more about that down the line, so I won't talk much about it. And often we think, oh, everything is under control, but may not be. So quickly summarizing this, we said this is a typical decision-making process where we have data collection, we have analysis and decision-making to decide on the plan of actions, and then we execute. We end up executing these tasks, the plan of actions, right? So across all the places, I just wanted to show you that we are vulnerable. Okay, there is so much vulnerability along all these phases. Okay, and that is the reason when we have so many chances of vulnerable behaviors, that's the reason why we see so many deviations. We see so many Boeings, we see so many Toyotas and so many Dells and KFCs, right? We happen to see that just simply because the avenues of being vulnerable are far too many. And that's why, as managers, when we design, manage, and improve systems, we need to be aware of these kind of issues. Okay, so I'm just wondering, I mean, do we continue with this way, or should I be taking any questions somewhere in the middle? Should I take a pause? Camila, if you can let me know, or should I continue? Okay, I guess I'll continue. Well, now what I wanted to do was spend the next few minutes, talking about some examples, some context, one specific operations management context. Take specific operations management context, probably spread somewhere around these decision-making phases that we just now spoke about, and see how this, how the behavioral dimension, kind of place into this decision making stages in different operations management contexts. Okay, so this is an example that I picked up from a recent study, a very interesting study done at Zara. A couple of professors did the study, and they published this recently. And basically, what they did was they did quite a few things. I'm just going to give you the brief, most interesting aspect. They started off with a pilot study. So Zara implemented a pilot study where they brought in a decision support system, basically an automated algorithm which makes recommendation to managers. Okay, and the recommendation was about clearance sales, how much marked down in terms of prices. Okay, on the stocks, depending on the stock's age and blah blah blah. The model was giving them some recommendations. Okay, in the pilot study, what they found that all those managers, store managers who followed the recommendation from the decision support system, from the algorithm, they made actually 6% increase in their revenues. So wonderful, and they said, "Oh wow, this works great. Let's implement this, and roll out this pilot. Expand this pilot and have a full rollout of this decision support system. Okay, or this algorithmic recommendation." What happened? Surprise, surprise. Managers deviated from these recommendations. Just see, the pilot study said, hey, managers who followed the recommendation have ended up with a very good result of 6% increase in clearance sale. Okay, now, despite that, with the full rollout, what did they observe? There were more than even more than 50% incidents or instances where managers did not follow the algorithmic recommendation, the recommendation given by the decision support system. They overrode the decision, and they used their judgment as such. And what happened? The result was reduction in revenue, less revenue. They could not make as much as they could. So a very classic thing, and this has been there for such a long time, and I'm just giving you an example of a recent study, etc. Okay, now, what could be the reasons? Why do you think this happens? Maybe some of the detailed investigation by the investigators, when they were trying to understand the phenomena, they try to understand what could be some of the causal reasons. So it could probably be because of multiple things, like maybe managers thought that focusing on information based on experience is what would help them, or they did not trust the algorithm's recommendation when they saw it in view of their experience. Okay, they are often seeing different kind of things, often trade-offs. You have too much of inventory, and then you have to think about revenue. Okay, there is cost, and then there's revenue. They're often, prioritizing at times. So they kind of prioritize, there is too much of inventory, let's push them off, so let's mark down the prices more than what the system or the algorithm recommends, which need not necessarily be, and it wasn't the case, that in the long term or in an extended period, the dollar value is not actually higher as they expected. So the system says reduce something by 5%, reduce the markdown by 5%. The manager says, no, 5% is not enough, let's do 10%. But they might end up selling things faster, but they're not making more money as much as they could have if they had followed the recommendation. Okay, so maybe they are uncomfortable to change from one practice to another, like the status quo, right? So these could be issues. So to quickly, kind of summarize on this or conclude on this example, they also tried, to make sure that how they could overcome these kind of behavioral deviations. Okay, they try to address these reasons. Maybe the cognitive load experienced by the managers when they're making the decision is quite beyond something that could be handled. So how could we make things better? Can we only put relevant information? How do the trade-off, that when they make the trade-off decisions, could they provide some transparent, improve transparency, provide evidence and rationale for the recommendation, which might convince the manager. Okay, only provide what is needed. Don't give them too many things. Don't give too, because often when you have IT systems, when you have these things, what happens? You tend to have reports and dashboards and things. All these impacts the way the manager thinks. Many times the legacy reports leads to status quo bias. They say, okay, this is what happened in the past. Let's just do that. So the way the information system is designed, the way it displays information, the way it makes recommendations, all this can impact the behaviors. And when they took care of these things in this design of the decision support system, there was a difference. Okay, so now quickly moving on to some other contexts. We saw some particular retail context. With what I've said, I don't want any of you to have a notion that he's saying that algorithms are better than human beings. I did not say that. But both algorithms or models and human beings, they have their own strengths. So human beings specifically, the human judgment has the strength of private information, their experience, their ability to read signals which have not or things which have not happened in the past, and to make relationships, relating very different things. These kind of things are the capabilities of human beings. But at the same time, they can make errors when they are reading these signals, right? Because when they are reading the signals, it's the signal, and as well as from where the signal comes, the system aspect as such. For example, at the beginning, I gave you the example of Xerox and BlackBerry. So you often end up making decisions just by overreacting to some signal which might just have been an extreme thing. So some studies that I have conducted in the area of judgmental forecasting, has shown some biases. And I'm just briefly telling you what was observed, okay, and nothing more. So there is a tendency, when people forecast, let's say, for example, sales, okay, when they want to forecast demand, okay, they look into past data, and if they see too much of variation, they read too much into it. It might just be random fluctuations. It might be very random movements, but they end up responding. So if they are in a turbulent system and they see that, they know the system is turbulent, that they're seeing that there are changes, they end up overreacting. So they end up predicting too many things, or end up predicting noise as some kind of signals. So and they make mistakes, and that's something that we saw. Also, the decision, is tied to something what happened in the most recent past. Okay. Similarly, there is a systematic tendency to over forecast and under forecast that you see in the diagram. Now, this is data from the study, okay, and this has been observed in experiments. This has been observed in real life forecasting of macroeconomic factors by a survey of professional forecasters and others. What you will see is the blue line is the actual data, and these are being forecasted in the ahead of time, and you will see that there is when there is a change upwards, people tend to not increase their forecast as much. When things go down, they don't go down as much, right? So you see the green line is below the blue line, or the green line is above the blue line, depending on if it's going up or going down, right? And also, when they go down, they don't go down as much. The gap is much more than what you see when they go up, right? So they're not symmetric. There are very behavioral issues out here. Yeah. So how do they don't make enough changes, for example, Even if they see things have moved, things have changed, they don't want to make enough change because there's some kind of status quo that they want to maintain. They're probably scared of their reputation of changing too much and behaving very differently and things. So my intention was to just give you examples of different kinds of biases that you will observe in the in a forecasting context. Yeah, and you can imagine how many different the implications of the presence of these biases in the decision. Okay, I know many of you are working professionals, so I wanted to kind of share another context where information systems are implemented. Okay, information systems are implemented typically with an objective, especially ERP kind of systems, with an objective of having standard operations to make sure that people follow rules, people do certain things in a specified way, bring standardization. But often in organizations, when they are when people are forced to follow rules or processes, many times people deviate. Now, why do they deviate? I mean, of course, it's not that they, when we say that, oh, there is deviation, they don't follow what is being said, or that's resistance to change. That's often lazy analysis. It's not resistance to change all the time, because people have their reasons for the behaviors too. Okay, they may be right or wrong, but they do have reasons. So for example, many times why people don't want to follow a particular system or a process imposed is because they don't find it to be fitting within their context. Okay, they see a misfit. They perceive it to be a misfit. And when they see it to be a misfit, they try to deviate. But of course, there is another factor. Even if you perceive it to be, how easy is it to circumvent or to find out other ways to do things? So how is it easy? Is it difficult? Is another question. Okay, maybe if it is easy, they will find a way out quickly. But what if it's difficult? And this is the interesting part of the story. What happens if it is difficult? What was found when this type of context was studied in organizations, in real world and in experiments? What managers temporarily gave signals that, okay, we will follow, even if they felt that there is high misfit. But over time, they find workarounds, they circumvent the process, they create their own processes and go. So after implementation, the organization might think that, great, everything is great, everyone is following. But there is often, in the medium term, you will see that the managers circumvent these procedures, they have developed workarounds and go. So there is the second part, the timing, right? The timing comes into play. Yeah. So the reaction from the users might be that, okay, everything is accepted, but remember, they're parallelly trying to find out circumventions. This kind of explains a lot of implementation failures in ERPs. Finally, I think I just wanted to spend a few minutes, maybe 2 to 3 minutes, on projects. And this, I'm sure, is an interesting area for all of you. I'm sure some of you might be project managers. Projects, what makes projects unique is that projects, there's so much of uncertainty in projects, right? That's why they're called projects and not products, right? And there's a lot of interdependence, right? It's a collection of activities and tasks and things, right, related to each other. And the biggest challenge is to manage the performance objectives in terms of time, cost, and the scope of work, right? To balance all the three well. Often, if projects succeed in all the three, it often becomes a news, right? That's how projects are, because delays are so common. Okay, so now, when we talk about projects, one very common step in a project when you're planning is to estimate the task or activity times, right? So you want to incorporate the uncertainty, because there is uncertainty and many of those things cannot be anticipated. So you tend to make estimates. Okay, and when you make estimates as managers or as individuals in organizations, what do? You account for the worst case scenario, because you want to deliver as you promise, okay, to your manager or to your customer or whoever it is. So you consider the worst case scenario, and the tail becomes longer, right? Because you see that an 80% confidence estimate was somewhere here, adjusted to the median, and now you see the 80% is so far away, yeah, because the tail kind of bothers you. If the distribution of the uncertainties of this kind, you might say, okay, 80% is somewhere here, but now you're going to say 80% is somewhere here, right? So you give up. Essentially what you're trying to do is you're adding more buffer into time, right? You're adding more buffer into time, right? So the dangerous thing that happens here is the buffer does not just get added once. You as an individual or the team member, project team member, you add your buffer, you pad up your task. Your line manager does so, your project manager does so. There is so much of buffer. And often what happens is that this gets institutionalized. This gets into a vicious cycle, because you add buffers, then your senior your top management says, oh, this is too much of an estimate, cut down this by 30%. The next time when you're giving estimate, you will buffer or pad up even for that 30% cut, which we call as a global cut. And yes, so this gets into a vicious bad practice, right? So the more fascinating thing, or that really fascinates me, is that despite all this padding, despite adding all these safety times, still projects delay. Why? Still you hear more about delays than on-time completions. You're all in the practice, you're all managers, and I'm sure you all agree with me. Yeah. Why does that happen? It happens, of course, because of multiple reasons, but I want to highlight two important reasons. One is the student syndrome. What is a student syndrome? Procrastination. Okay, you don't start when really you can. I mean, you say, okay, there is time, we will do it. How do you see it in the real world? You will often hear your project team members saying, yeah, I am kind of preparing. I am kind of reading up. I'm looking into references. I'm referring to that. And you're not doing the task. You're basically wasting time. Okay. You will see that. Now, if you have enough padded time, there should not be a problem. But the problem is because the presence of Murphy. Now, you all know what Murphy is. I mean, anything that can go wrong will go wrong. I mean, you will have unanticipated issues. The computer broke down. The software did not work on the day that you wanted to. The resource that was supposed to come did not make herself available or whatever, right? And you start late. You have a problem, and then delay, right? The entire distribution shifts, and there is a delay, there is a shift, and your project gets delayed. That's the problem of procrastination. Okay. Number two is what we call the Parkinson's law, right? Work expands to the available time. So even the problem here is this: even if you complete things early, you will not report it. Why? Of course, you do something early, the next time you give an estimate, they say, no, last time you did it in so many hours, and why do you want so much? I mean, do it in less than that. That means you're not being rewarded for early completions. You're being punished, okay? And are you a saint? Not at all, right? People say, you tell me how you measure me, I will tell you how I behave. So again, an issue, right? So early completions are not rewarded, and obviously it leads to some kind of other behaviors, okay? And the problem here is that even if you have done things quick, you have saved time. That saved time cannot be used by the entire project for the entire project's benefit. It just sticks to you and it's done there. And you will be happy because you say, oh, I have done my task on time. Really? It was not important that you complete your task on time. What was important was the project is completed on time. And that doesn't happen. You're not contributing to that. So this is just a couple of examples in the project management context. Okay, so I guess I'm almost done. So I'll just leave this questions as a food for thought for you, because I think after the talk, probably give yourself some exercise by thinking about these questions. Think about service context, customer services, customer experiences. Because I have often seen this. Airline companies, there are some airline companies which might not be great in terms of service in most of their things, but they pay a lot of attention to baggage claims. Can you imagine why? Probably that's the last phase of that particular service experience, collecting your baggages. And somehow, some airline companies focus so much on that. Okay? Why? Think about it. There was a medical devices company, a medical equipment company, which was phenomenally good in its operational performance. It used to say its customers, if you have a problem, call us, register the complaint. We will attend to you in 30 minutes. Our technician will call you in 30 minutes and resolve the problem for you. Okay? And they used to literally do it within 30 minutes. Literally, they have done all their customer complaints. But when they ask their customers, are you happy with us? They say, no, you took so long. And this shocked them. We are so good operationally. What is the problem? The way the customers perceived waits, the 30 minutes for those customers was not 30 minutes. It was more than that for them. They felt they were waiting for hours together. Why? The context was something different. Think about it. Try to give your brain some exercise. I'm sure you will find answers. And these are things that you see in your daily life. Think about the McDonald's and KFCs. Why do they have very simple plastic fiber chairs and not any more convenient chairs? Why do they keep their ambience very plain and kind of close to shabby? Why? Think about it. So these are some things that I wanted to leave you before I conclude. Customers join queues and then leave the queues. Customers, after looking at the queue, they don't join at all. What drives their decision? And can their decision to join or not join or drop off from a line after joining, can that be influenced? Can it be changed? Firms do all this. Okay, so leaving these questions for you. Finally, to conclude, what do we do? Okay, of course, my intention was to emphasize the point that we need to be aware of these biases. Okay, and we should try to account for them in our operations design, execution, and decision improvement initiatives. Okay, so there are various ways that organizations do this. Of course, I don't want to kind of read the slide, but just to give you a couple of examples. For example, nudges. I know a particular couple of instances where nudges are used, some kind of messages on the phones, some kind of signals or some kind of apps being used to pass messages to induce more favorable behaviors by employees and managers in the decision-making process. Using very diverse opinions. Often, how can companies are trying to see how could they use models and algorithms along with human judgment, so that there is diversity. Even if they're using models, they don't want to use one model, they want to use multiple models, ensembles. They want to combine things, How do they do this? And some firms are also thinking about, separating some activity to models and separating some activities to things. So, for example, store managers, when they make inventory decisions, for a particular period, what happens? There are models which tell you, okay, this is the quantity that you have to order. Okay, but then the manager says, that's not the quantity what I think is right, so I'm going to change it. Okay, similar to the Zara experience. So what they said, hey, let's not do this. Let's say that your task is only to forecast. Put your judgment, put your experience, and tell, hey, what is the forecast? And give that demand forecast to the model. The model will tell you what the quantity is to be ordered. Perfect. They separate that. Now, is this the solution? May not be completely, because just imagine this. If I want to still manipulate the model, I can still do it by manipulating my forecast and making the model behave like that, the way I want. So human beings are always smarter than machines. Okay, so nothing is foolproof, but nothing stops us from improving things by accounting for some very relevant, important aspects into our daily operations and decision making. Okay, and I guess I will stop there, and thank you all for listening. I hope it was informative, and I'm happy to take questions or discuss as you think. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Kumar, for the insightful presentation. We would like to open the opportunity for question and answer session. Therefore, if you have any questions, please be sure to leave it in the chat. While asking the question session, to all the participants here today, your input and feedback is highly appreciated. Therefore, please fill out the feedback survey by following the instructions on the chat. Once again, I'd like to remind you that by participating in this webinar, you are to gain a lot of benefits. First, you are to receive a free business or professional coaching session with an expert from SGU or SolBridge University. Today, we are also offering free registration for the MBA International Double Degree Program with scholarships available up to 50%. All these benefits are only valid until July 13, 2024. If you have any further inquiries, please contact SGU marketing staff after the webinar for more details. Before we end, we would like to have a photo session. So if we could check on our cameras for those available, we may do so. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for your participation. With this, I would like to thank everyone for their attention during this webinar. I would like to remind the participants to fill in the feedback form that has been shared in the comment section, and I would like to invite for our open house on the 27th of this July. Once again, my name is Camila. Thank you for having me as your MC. You may leave right now. Thank you. Thank you, Professor Kumar.
Thank you. Thank you.